Your brain lies to you every time you fall for the wrong person. What if I told you? The biggest lie you've ever believed. Wasn't told by a manipulator. Wasn't told by a toxic partner. Wasn't even told by another person. It was whispered. By your own brain. Every time you meet someone new, your brain starts writing a story about them. It fills in the blanks before you even know who they really are. It turns hope into certainty. Assumptions into facts. And feelings into evidence. The frightening part? It does all of this without asking for your permission. That's why intelligent people can ignore obvious warning signs. Stay in unhealthy relationships. Trust the wrong people. And only realize the truth when it's already too late. Because the biggest red flag isn't always standing in front of you. Sometimes it's hiding inside your own mind. By the end of this video, you'll understand why your brain keeps falling for the wrong people. Why it keeps making the same mistakes. And how to stop it before it happens again. Because once you see these mental traps, you'll never look at people the same way again. Let's begin. Have you ever looked back at someone you once trusted and asked yourself, what was I thinking? Maybe it was someone you dated. Maybe it was a close friend. Maybe it was a colleague you defended while everyone else saw the truth. At the time, they seemed perfect. They were charming, funny, confident. They made you feel understood. Being around them felt easy, natural, almost as if you'd known them forever. Then something small happened. They broke a promise. You ignored it. They blamed someone else for their mistake. You explained it away. They spoke disrespectfully to another person. You convinced yourself they were just having a bad day. One warning sign became 2. Then 3. Then 10. Yet somehow, you still believed. They were the person you met on that very first day. Looking back now, it seems unbelievable. How could you miss something that feels so obvious today? The answer isn't that you weren't intelligent. It isn't that you were naive. And it certainly doesn't mean you deserve to be hurt. The real reason is much more surprising. Your brain was never trying to discover the truth. It was trying to create certainty. Think about how much information your brain processes every single second. Faces, voices, body language, words, memories, emotions, past experiences, future expectations. If your brain examined every tiny detail with perfect accuracy, you'd never make a decision. You'd be stuck analyzing forever. So instead, your brain does something extraordinary. It takes shortcuts. Thousands of them. Most of these shortcuts are incredibly useful. They help you recognize danger, make quick decisions, and navigate a complicated world without exhausting yourself. But every shortcut comes with a hidden cost. Sometimes, the same shortcut that protects you can also deceive you. Imagine walking through a forest at sunset. Out of the corner of your eye, you see something long and curved lying on the ground. Without thinking, your heart races. Your muscles tighten. Your body prepares to run. A second later, you realize it isn't a snake. It's just a stick. Did your brain make a mistake? Yes. But it made the safest mistake. Because assuming a stick is a snake is far less dangerous than assuming a snake is a stick. Your brain is designed to choose speed over perfect accuracy. That instinct has helped human beings survive for thousands of years. But when it comes to relationships, the same instinct can quietly become your greatest weakness. Because unlike snakes, people don't reveal who they are immediately. And while you're trying to understand them, your brain hates uncertainty. So it starts filling in the missing pieces. It doesn't say, "I don't know this person yet." Instead, it whispers, "I think I already know who they are." And that's where the first lie begins. Your brain has just told its first lie. Not because it's evil. Not because it's broken. Because uncertainty makes people uncomfortable. The human mind would rather have a quick answer than no answer at all. Even if that answer turns out to be wrong. Think about the last time you watched a mystery film. Long before the ending, your mind was already trying to guess who the villain was. You weren't happy waiting for the truth. You wanted certainty. Your brain treats people exactly the same way. The moment someone enters your life, it begins building a story. They seem trustworthy. They're different. They understand me. They would never hurt me. Notice something important. At this point, you don't actually know any of those things. You've only met a version of them. Yet your brain starts filling in the missing chapters. And once that story begins, something even more dangerous happens. Your brain stops looking for the truth. It starts looking for proof. Imagine buying a blue car. The next morning, it suddenly feels like blue cars are everywhere. At traffic lights. Outside supermarkets. In office car parks. On every road you drive. Did thousands of blue cars appear overnight? Of course not. They were always there. Your brain simply decided they were important. Now it notices them. Psychologists call this confirmation bias. But you don't need to remember the name. Just remember what it does. It turns your brain into a lawyer instead of a detective. A detective asks, "What really happened?" A lawyer asks, "How can I prove my client is innocent?" Once your brain has decided someone is a good person, it starts acting like their personal lawyer. Every good action becomes evidence. Every bad action becomes an exception. Imagine someone you're dating remembers your favorite coffee. Your brain smiles. See? They care. A week later, they cancel your plans without apologizing. They're probably stressed. Then they forget your birthday. They've just been really busy. Then they lie about something small. It wasn't a serious lie. Then they lose their temper over something insignificant. They've had a difficult week. Have you noticed what's happening? You're no longer judging each action on its own. You're protecting the story you created on day one. Every excuse feels reasonable. Every warning sign feels temporary. Every uncomfortable feeling gets explained away. Not because you're foolish. Because your brain hates admitting it may have been wrong. And the more emotionally invested you become, the harder it fights. This is why friends often see the truth before we do. They aren't wearing the same mental filter. They aren't emotionally attached to the story. They're simply observing behavior. Meanwhile, your brain keeps editing reality. Imagine wearing glasses with slightly pink lenses. At first, you don't notice them. After a while, everything begins to look normal. You forget you're even wearing the glasses. That's exactly how confirmation bias works. It doesn't change reality. It changes the way you see reality. The frightening part is, you don't realize it's happening. Because every new piece of evidence feels completely logical. And then, someone tries to warn you. A friend says, I don't think they're treating you well. Instead of becoming curious, you become defensive. They don't know the real them. You only see one side. They've actually been really good to me. Maybe that's true. But here's the question your brain almost never asks. What if they're seeing something that I can't? That single question has saved people from years of pain. Because sometimes, the people standing outside the story can see the ending long before the main character does. But even when the evidence becomes impossible to ignore, even when your brain finally admits something is wrong, another psychological trap quietly appears. And this one is so powerful. It has convinced millions of intelligent people to stay in relationships they already knew were hurting them. Not because they couldn't see the truth, but because walking away felt even more painful than staying. The truth is, most people don't stay in the wrong relationship because they can't see the red flags. They stay because their brain keeps asking the wrong question. Instead of asking, is this relationship making my life better? It asks, how can I walk away after everything I've already invested? That single shift in thinking changes everything. Imagine you've spent 2 years with someone. You've celebrated birthdays together, met each other's families, shared your dreams, made sacrifices, changed your routine, built your future around them. Then, slowly, something begins to change. Conversations become arguments. Promises become excuses. Trust becomes doubt. You know something feels wrong. Deep down, you've known it for months. So why don't you leave? The answer isn't always love. Sometimes, it's investment. Imagine buying a ticket to a film. Halfway through, you realize it's terrible. You aren't enjoying it. You're checking your phone every few minutes. But instead of leaving, you stay until the credits roll. Why? Because you already paid for the ticket. Now imagine an old car. You've spent thousands repairing it. Every month something else breaks. Your friends tell you it's time to replace it. But you keep fixing it. Not because it's reliable. Because you've already spent so much money. Relationships can fall into the exact same trap. Psychologists call it the sunk cost fallacy. But think of it like this. Your brain keeps looking backwards, instead of forwards. It keeps counting yesterday's investment, instead of tomorrow's happiness. Listen carefully. Time you've already spent can never be recovered. Whether you stay, or whether you leave. The past is already written. The only thing you can still change is the future. Yet our brains struggle to accept that. Because admitting we've invested years in the wrong person feels painful. It feels like failure. So instead, we negotiate with reality. Maybe things will get better. They've promised they'll change. This is just a difficult phase. We've been through too much to give up. Sometimes, people really do change. But here's the mistake many of us make. We confuse promises with patterns. Anyone can promise. Real change is quieter. It doesn't announce itself. It repeats itself. Once. Twice. 10 times. Consistency is what creates trust. Not beautiful speeches. Not emotional apologies. not dramatic declarations of love. Behavior always speaks louder than intention. Think about someone who apologizes every Friday, but repeats the same behavior every Monday. After a while, the apology stops being evidence of change. It becomes part of the cycle. Here's something else your brain does. It remembers the emotional highs far more vividly than the long periods of disappointment. Think about a relationship that feels like a roller coaster. 1 week, everything is perfect. You laugh together. You feel loved. You think, this is the person I fell in love with. Then suddenly, silence, distance, arguments, broken promises, coldness. When the good moments return, they feel incredible, almost magical. Your brain whispers, see, they're still in there. I just have to be patient. But ask yourself something. If happiness only appears for a few days, and pain fills the weeks in between, which one is the real pattern? Healthy relationships don't survive because they have extraordinary good days. They survive because ordinary days feel safe. You don't have to earn respect. You don't have to wonder where you stand. You don't spend every week hoping things will finally return to the way they used to be. That's the difference between excitement and emotional security. And unfortunately, there's one final trick your brain plays. It's the most convincing lie of them all. The lie that says, I'll never find someone like them again. And once you believe that, walking away no longer feels like losing one person. It feels like losing your only chance at happiness. That's the final illusion we'll uncover. Then ask yourself something. Who told you that this was the only person capable of loving you? Who convinced you that your future depended on one human being? The answer might surprise you. No one. Your own brain did. This is perhaps the most convincing illusion your mind ever creates. Because when we become emotionally attached to someone, our brain doesn't just connect to the person. It connects to the future we imagine with them. The holidays you pictured. The conversations you expected. The home you dreamed about. The family you imagined. The version of yourself you believed you would become. And when the relationship begins to fall apart, your brain isn't only grieving the person. It's grieving a future that never actually happened. That's why heartbreak feels so overwhelming. You're mourning two losses at the same time. The person, and the life you expected to have with them. This is why people often say, I don't think I'll ever feel this way again. But think about your own life. 5 years ago, there were people you thought you'd never forget. People you couldn't imagine living without. Yet today, many of them rarely cross your mind. Not because they never mattered, but because your brain slowly built new memories, new routines, new connections. The same brain that convinced you this person was irreplaceable is also capable of helping you move forward. It simply needs time. Here's another strange thing about memory. It isn't a video recording. It's an editor. Every time you remember something, your brain quietly rewrites it. After a breakup, many people replay only the happiest moments. The late-night conversations. The holidays. The laughter. The first kiss. The kind messages. But notice what often disappears. The anxiety. The crying. The broken promises. The sleepless nights. The constant overthinking. The moments you questioned your own worth. Your brain creates a highlight reel. And then it compares that highlight reel to your ordinary everyday life. Of course the past seems better. You're comparing the best moments to average reality. That's not a fair comparison. Imagine watching only the best 5 minutes from a 3-hour football match. It would seem incredible. But you never saw the missed passes, the mistakes, the boring moments. Relationships work the same way. A few beautiful memories can hide hundreds of painful ones. That's why psychologists often encourage people to judge relationships by patterns, not moments. A single romantic weekend doesn't erase months of disrespect. One heartfelt apology doesn't cancel repeated dishonesty. One good day cannot carry a relationship through 100 painful ones. Patterns reveal character. Moments reveal emotion. And character always predicts the future better than emotion. So before believing your brain's story, pause. Don't ask, "How do I feel today?" Ask, "What has this person consistently shown me?" Because behavior repeated over time is far more honest than words spoken in the moment. If someone repeatedly shows respect, believe it. If someone repeatedly shows kindness, believe it. But if someone repeatedly shows manipulation, dishonesty, disrespect, or indifference, believe that too. Not because people can never change, but because your decisions should be based on evidence, not hope alone. Here's something I want you to remember long after this video ends. Your brain is one of the most extraordinary survival machines ever created. It protects you, learns for you, makes millions of decisions without you even noticing. But it also has blind spots. It can mistake familiarity for safety, intensity for love, attention for respect, and hope for evidence. The goal isn't to stop trusting people. The goal is to stop trusting every story your brain tells before reality has had a chance to speak. The next time someone walks into your life, your brain will immediately begin writing another story. That's what it has always done. The difference is, now you'll recognize the pen in its hand. You'll slow down. You'll watch patterns instead of promises. Actions instead of words. Consistency instead of chemistry. Because chemistry can make someone unforgettable. But only character makes someone worth keeping. And perhaps the most dangerous red flag was never the one standing in front of you. It was the quiet voice inside your own mind, convincing you to ignore what was there all along. Once you learn to question that voice, you don't become cynical. You become wiser. And that single change may protect your heart more than any warning sign ever could.